Chuckachoo. Chub it up, do. What up, everybody? It's me, it's Troy, and we're doing a solo episode today. Lyndon is not here. It is me by myself. I just cleaned my apartment, and I'm feeling pretty good about that. This will never be released. No one will ever hear it except for me, and so that's why I'm doing it. Just kidding. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I know a lot of you are curious about a couple things. First of all, when is COVID going to end? And I'll tell you, I have an answer. And the answer is whenever they come out with a vaccine. And the vaccine, I've heard, is coming out in 18 months from 2 months ago. And if any of you know how to do math, and I do, and I'm just saying if you do too, that equals to 16 months from now, which is more than a year from now. It's a year and 4 months from now. And right now it's going to be May. It's going to be May. And then, so 4 months from this time next year, let's see, May, June, July, August, September, holy crap, September. So when I turn 32, we'll have a vaccine and we can get back to normal. Holy crap. What? What? I don't know. Honestly, I just kind of wanted to get on the mic. I just want to do something creative. I very likely will not release this. If anything, I kind of want to record a song or two, and maybe just throw it up on the thing and see what you guys think of it, and whatever. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Isn't that the funny thing? Isn't that what we're realizing now? Is that nothing really matters. Nothing really mattered. So many of the things that you thought mattered just simply do not matter. What are some things that you thought mattered? Turns out they don't. If you have an answer to this, I would be very interested to hear. If you want to send an email to our email address, which is themissionsstoriespodcast@gmail.com, or you can shoot a message into our DMs on Instagram, or just text one of us if you have our number. Anyway, so those are all the ways that you can reach out. But I think it's an interesting question. What are the things that you thought mattered? Turns out they don't. And maybe like as we go further into quarantine, are you starting to relax a bit? Are you starting to freak out less? I find myself being a little worn out from being freaked out, and it's almost like I'm a little too cavalier sometimes. I cleaned my toilet. I cleaned my tub today. I cleaned my tub so thoroughly today. I spent so much time cleaning my tub today. I threw on some tunes. I was jamming out to some Pink Floyd, and then some Aqua. That's specifically what I remember, and I feel like it'll be interesting because I feel like whenever I listen to those songs from now on, I'm gonna think momentarily about my tub. Isn't that the interesting thing about music? Is that it's kind of this time travel portal that takes you to like all the times you listened to that song and it was meaningful to you. Like the Pink Floyd song that really sort of struck me. It's such an emotional song. Sidebar about Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd is a band that is. It's a band that is, I find, hard to listen to if I am not in a mood to self-reflect, or I'm not in a mood. It's like if I have anything else going on, I do not want to listen to Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd is sort of demanding on the attention, I find, because they sort of, like, you have to go where they are taking you. And sometimes I don't want to go there because the place that they take you oftentimes is into the recesses of your own your own psyche and your own emotions, and they force you to self-reflect and to think about your life and where you've been and where you're going. And as I said before, music itself just has that quality where it transports you back to times where you've heard that before, and maybe other self-reflections you've had while listening to that very song. I remember I came across Pink Floyd first when I was a teenager. I think I was 16 or so. I remember really not liking The Wall was the album that I had purchased because, it's The Wall, it's Pink Floyd, you got to get it. And I'm glad that I did. It was the double CD back when people bought CDs. And HMV was alive and well. HMV. So I bought the CD and I listened to it as a 16, 15-year-old, and I remember thinking, I do not like this. I remember trying so hard to like it. I remember putting in a solid effort to listen to the weird, it's just I've never done LSD or anything, but I imagine you have to be high as a kite on LSD to really get into the sonic, the songs that are just like noises. I think you gotta just be high as a kite to really get into that, maybe. Although I think there's what's it called? Dark Side of the Moon is it's synced up almost perfectly to The Wizard of Oz. Like you can play it along to The Wizard of Oz if you start them at the exact same time, and there's this weird correlation. And I wonder if that's part of the weird. It's like, oh, we don't have a song yet. We're just sort of this background noise. Who knows? Maybe they did that with The Wall. I know there's a movie, The Wall. Getting deep into The Wall, getting deep into Pink Floyd. So back to me as a teenager listening to it, I'm like, oh, there's so many sounds. There's nuggets of perfection in it in the Wall album, but there's also a lot of junk, and it felt like a bloated mess. And I remember coming out of the other side of that thinking, I am the kind of person who maybe doesn't enjoy concept albums as much as someone else might. I just like a good solid melody, a good beat, some good solos, but I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get the thing you're trying to do here. So fast forward to today. I remember also, side note as well, I was really into the Doors at this same time. This is kind of like pre-Mission. I remember from 17 to pre-Mission, which would be 17, 18, leading up to that. I remember just feeling not depressed, but almost depressed in a way that was depression was this cool thing that you could do. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like this rite of passage you had to go through. It's I had seen all these. I mean, I don't want to say. So, there were times as a teenager where I was sad for sure. Definitely sad and definitely upset and everything. But there was also times as a late teenager, 17, 18, life was pretty good. I think I'd passed through a lot of the inadequacy, feelings of inadequacy that are inherent in that sort of those tween years between 12 to whenever you hit puberty, I guess, and whenever the hormones have a decent chance to wash over your system and your body enough so that you're you can kind of grow into yourself as an adult, as a young adult. But those tween years are rough because it's what are you? You're like a half-cooked piece of chicken. You're not good for anybody. You're actually dangerous. You can't be consumed yet. You will kill the host. Whoever eats you will die. Weird analogy. Maybe a half-baked cake. Maybe that's a better way to look at it. You're just you're just a good for nothing tween. Not that you're good for nothing, but you get it. You're going through a transitional process, and you don't have like the carefreeness of being a pure child anymore, but you have none of the benefit of being a fully formed adult-bodied person. I hope that made sense. Probably it didn't. For my intention for no one to have ever hear this, I'm really taking this a long way. I might have to release this regardless. Lyndon and I had every intention of recording today. I think we had even made plans, but I just didn't follow through. I had to work today, so from home. I'm working from home. So we were talking about Pink Floyd, listening to it, being depressed. That's right. So there's sort of it's almost like there was a sort of a rite of passage, performative depression that was something that maybe you saw. I saw the artists that influenced me, people like Kurt Cobain. I was into the Doors at this time too, 17, 18. Along with my friends, we were also into the Doors and I was into Apocalypse Now, in which the Doors are featured heavily. Great movie. It's a dark film. I don't know what it was. I was just obsessed. I think I equated darkness with deepness, and so I was into all these like 70s. I was into 70s slow burn dramas. Godfather, Apocalypse Now, Dog Day Afternoon. What else? Raging Bull, Taxi. All these sort of classic 70s films. I was into them, and I was trying to. I went through this phase where it was like the more boring a film was, the more it meant somehow, like, to me, and not even to me, but it's just like that's why I equated darkness and boringness with greatness. And even if I didn't have the patience quite for the thing yet, it was still something I wanted to ingest. Like, I knew it was great, even if I didn't quite have an appetite for it yet. I wanted to like develop the taste for it. It was an interesting time for me as a connoisseur of the arts. I was trying to, and of film specifically. 2008 was the year I left on my mission, and there were some like all-time great films released that year. Two of which come to mind are There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men. These are two films which take after the tradition of those slow burn 70s dramas. Watching those classic films, those 70s films, trained me and sort of helped me get into a place where I could appreciate a film like There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis, whose birthday it was recently. Happy birthday to Daniel Day-Lewis. I know he's listening, so happy birthday. Also, what's it called? No Country for Old Men. These were two films, though, that I knew there's something. I knew from the trailers that these movies would be incredible. Sometimes a trailer is. I'm pretty good at telling from the footage they show in a trailer and how they cut it together exactly what they're trying to do with it. And I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I'm really good at that. So, and boy, was I right. Those were two amazing, amazing films. Where was I going with that? I was going to also say there's a type of film that is just going to rev my engine really hard. And it has to be gritty. It has to be realistic. I love realism and grittiness. Just on the verge almost of a documentary. I love the document. Like Zero Dark 30 is another film like this where like I saw the trailer and it was it had the documentary feel, like the handheld without it being acknowledged, I like that handheld feel. Although I remember like Born Conspiracy, the first Bourne film. This featured a lot in all those movies, and I remember not liking that movie at first. I also didn't like Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring when it first came out either. So you grow into these things. You grow into it. Your tastes change as you grow up. I was a stupid little tween back then. What did I know? Nothing. Okay, so performative depression. Just, so I'm watching these movies, I'm listening to this music, and also, being a teenager is tough. So, there's a lot of things that go along with it. The girl, you don't always get the girl, and you don't always get the thing, and you're not quite an adult yet, and you're experiencing like the difference between, and also you're going on a mission soon, so that's where I was at that time, 2007, 2008. And so it's all these things combined. It's just like, I don't know my place in the world yet. I don't know exactly what I know I'm going on a mission soon, and that's kind of a scary thought. And all of these different things are combining together. And I just remember, to culminate to the long-winded point I'm trying to get to, is that I thought today of the Pink Floyd sort of reminded me of some of this stuff, and thought back to that time where I was like, man, it was like I was trying to be sad almost. It's like I wanted to feel what my artist idols had felt. And boy, I'm glad to be past that. I'm glad to be beyond what I think I have to do to be a creative person. I do think that pain gives you everything in life gives you the seeds you need to turn those events and those feelings and emotions into a creative outlet. But I don't know. I don't buy into the thing that you have to be a sad person or you have to be a broken person in order to create something. I think you just have to be able to I think you have to be happy. You have to be, I don't know, because they're like, to a creative person, creating is part of what makes them happy. And so it's exercising demons, sure, but it's channeling the negative energy into something positive. I don't know. There's a lot to it, but point is, Pink Floyd. Listening today as I'm scraping my bathtub. I've never scraped so hard in my life. I don't know if that's true. The other time I scraped that hard, and I thought about this too, was on my mission. I remember I was in, where was I? McDonough. No. Dallas, Georgia. And it was P-Day, and we had a bathroom. And obviously, and my companion was doing something, and I was just scrubbing the tub because I took pride in sort of lacerating myself with hard labor. That's how I was as a missionary. I was just a self-flagellator, if you will. That guy, the guy from what's that movie? The Dan Brown movie that enraged Catholics and Christians alike. The world around. I think it was a pre-2008 movie too. Anyway, what is that movie called? The Code, Da Vinci Code. That's right, the Da Vinci Code. So in that movie, there's a character who whips himself, and that was me. That's my point. Okay, so funny joke, haha. So anyway, I was scrubbing my that's really all there is to that story. That's like a dog story. There was a dog and it was scary. There was a tub and I scrubbed it. Fast forward to me in my tub today scrubbing, and I'm listening to Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Great song. Emotional song. Makes you think. Makes you consider all the things in life. And yeah, it got me just thinking and kind of emotional. But I just was it's so strange. I was so like happy as I was cleaning. It felt good to clean. A good friend of mine once said, clean your room, clean your brain. And daggone it, if that's not true, I don't know what is. Anyway, it just felt good. It felt good to clean, and it felt good to remember certain people and places and times, and to reflect on those things. Sometimes it's hard to move forward. Sometimes it's hard to move on from places in your life where it was nice, it was good. And sometimes it's tempting, I want to go back to that. I want to try to recapture a time and a place and a feeling with a person and or a vibe, that I had at a certain point of time. But I don't know if you can ever go back. It's in my experience, it seems like you can't. Especially if it involves another person, because there was something about that time and place where the two of you were at, where it worked and it was good. And if you were to go back now, you wouldn't be the same people. And certainly because part of it is that you've both experienced your own experiences with each other. I turned 31 in 4 months in September. And it just got me thinking. There's something about 30 it feels like a grace period. It's like, you're 30. Whoa, you're 30. All right, take a year. Get used to being 30. And then 31 hits, and it's like, oh, this train doesn't stop. It just keeps going. I gotta tell the conductor where we want this thing to go. And I'm the conductor. I have to tell myself where to go, where to take the train. And I'm like, hey, listen, man, it's just like, it's on tracks, man. We're kind of just going on tracks here. It's on rails, bro. There's no steering, really. There's speed. Yeah, that doesn't really fit this analogy. Anyway, it just got me thinking about that. Thinking about life and its direction and its momentum, and what to do. What do I do? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? So I've talked for a long time at this point, 24 minutes. Question is, do I release this? There's no bit behind it. The last time I did this, Lyndon had broken his face, and we were very committed to doing a once a week release. And so I did that at that time. I think that was a year ago, something like that, maybe. It's weird to think back, just like a year ago, this happened. It's so strange. because I don't know about you guys, but I think back. Sometimes a year ago feels very close, but also when I think about what happened 1 year ago, it's like, wow, that actually was kind of a long time ago. Like a year actually feels like a year. It's like, whoa, that was a decent chunk of time. It always feels fast. I think it's like transitioning from season to season, I think comes quickly. But when you think about a full year ago, to me anyway, it actually feels like a decent chunk of time. And there's something comforting about that to me. The other thing too, to go along with this, is that we we renewed the cost to keep this podcast going, which is the cost of SoundCloud hosting our thing. Sort of auto renewed this year. It sort of came and went. I didn't even think about it. I'm sure Lyndon didn't either. But there it was. Came off my credit card, and I'm like, oh, okay. Guess we're doing this for another year. It's interesting. I look at the first year that we did this, and then the second year, and this will be the third, I suppose. And it's like boy, have we grown in our ability to talk into microphones for an amount of time, and to do so comfortably is, But so I like that growth. The thing I noticed from the very first episodes to this, to our more recent episodes, is just like a second guessing. I remember a second guessing was happening a lot. From myself, I think Lyndon sort of is this perma king of cool who, it's part of what makes him so likable and such a good co-host. And I don't know of a time where I've seen Lyndon where he was on his back foot. Do you know what I mean? Like he's always cool, calm, collected. He's the guy from what's that movie? It's one of my favorite movies. Hurt Locker. He's kind of like, and I don't know if this is a great analogy because the main character of Hurt Locker obviously has this breakdown near the end of the movie, but most of the time, the thing about that character is that he's so unflappable. He's so unaffected by the stress and strain of war, of combat. It's his happy place. And I've always admired that. The thing that's so fun about the Hurt Locker is watching that character, Jeremy Renner's character, just be so okay with everything. Because, and maybe it's part of like in my own life, there's been times where I've been like, oh, I can't even handle like basic things, non-combat stress. And here this person is in a sniper battle, just like nonchalantly spitting on bullets to clean the blood off them so that, they can load them into the 50 caliber Barrett and go home that night and celebrate. There's also another part of that movie which I love, which is he takes that character takes the wooden boards off of the sort of little bunkers where they sleep because the previous guy had done that, and he says something like, if a mortar gets dropped on us, this piece of wood's not going to save us. So I'd rather enjoy the sunshine and the breeze up until that point. And it's like, man, what a outlook, Anyway, I think I equate Lyndon somewhat with this guy. He's he's not carefree, but he understands the value of certain risk taking, or there's a comfort, there's a coolness and a comfort with stress and with danger that I feel more fidgety and anxious about these things. And Lyndon is this cool, calm, collected cat, and I can sing the guy's praises till the cows come home. I feel like I should release this just so he can hear my true feelings. The other part of maybe why I ought to release this is what I was going to say before is the first year that we recorded, we were more consistent, and I was definitely more committed to weekly content. I know that another thing that we did more was I was trying to do like videos, where we would record the podcast and then I would sort of edit it, and then it would be put it on Instagram. And there's like a bunch of these clips from a run of episodes, and my idea was like, okay, I feel like to game the Instagram algorithm, you have to post every day. And so that was the idea, was that every day there would be posts from the podcast, kind of like highlights, really. And I don't think it actually equated to more people listening. It might have. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a data scientist, so I don't know. That's the thing about a podcast, is like you don't know what you're doing. And I still mostly don't, but I do know this, that I really kind of got burnt out from doing the podcast. We were like really guest heavy back then too, to the point where now I don't remember the last time we had an actual guest, but part of me thinks that those of you that do listen, part of me thinks you don't quite listen for the guest. I think there's something about the chemistry Lyndon and I have that's part of the magic of it. And obviously he's not here right now, so there's none of that magic right now. So maybe I ought not to release it in that case. But to get back to the point, there was a lot of stuff, a lot of content the first year. Second year I was burnt out and wanted to not do it as much. And if I look back at this last year of it, it's kind of sad because, we paid for the service and we put out less content. And it was, listen, we kind of swung in the other direction. We were just like, you know what, let's be loosey-goosey. Let's do it whenever we feel like it. And whatever, And there was, we went on a lot of hiatuses. There were hiatuses that occurred. Long periods of time between episodes, even still, And so maybe this year can be the year we find a balance in terms of a work schedule and putting things out. Maybe we can do that. And maybe this is part of it, just a commitment to put something out there no matter what. It doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to be, I think so much of this was definitely a revelation for me creatively, just in general, where I realized it's like it doesn't have to be perfect. It will never be perfect, and you just have to accept. Put in the effort to make it good, whatever you're doing, or as best as you can make it, but also know when to just abandon it. I forget where I heard this, but it's like a song or an art project or a creative endeavor. It's never finished. You never finish it. You just abandon it. And, because you could keep, not that this is particularly like it's not a difficult thing. You just talk into a microphone. My original intention for this was just to, I'm working on a new, if you haven't seen, I made this animated film, a little short film about Batman and Alfred, and Batman gets a new butler and blah, blah, blah. And very funny. Go watch it. Embarrassed and Cold is this sort of moniker I've made to put the sketches under. So you can go check that out if you want. Embarrassed and Cold. I named it that because it's like it's all embarrassing. Making this crap, it's embarrassing. And then Calgary's a cold place typically, but so that's sort of the idea. I'm a Calgary-based, embarrassed, amateur comedy writer, creator. I don't know what I am. But I got to do it. That's what I learned. That's what I've learned about myself is I have to do it. Even if 10 people watch it. I don't know, it's weird. It's like it's less about who's watching it. It's less about that. It's more about and this is something, if you're kind of creative in the slightest, if you feel an emptiness in yourself, in your life, I know this is how I felt for a long time. You gotta create. You just have to do it, and then you can either not put it out there or you can put it out there. But damn it, it's just so easy to put things out there now. And I really believe that the world is a better place when people put their creations out into it. And so I'm usually pro put your stuff out there. You never know, and this is the same with any good or kind act that you do. You don't understand. You can't know the final impact of what you're doing or what you're saying. So it's like you do a thing, you put your heart and soul into a thing, put it out there, throw it out there. You don't know who's going to come across it or when they're going to come across it, or the inspiration that you can provide. It's like you doing, I forget, this feels like a Nelson Mandela thing, but this is anyway, the quote is something like you showing the light, your own light, gives other people permission to show their own, to show who they are, to show who they are and what they're into. So it's embarrassing and it's a risk, and you're taking a risk by putting something that you make out into the world. But I think it's important to do. And I think people will always have comments about it. Some people will like the thing you do, and some people will not. And there's a balance you have to strike between trying to actually serve an audience and also doing the thing for yourself, because ultimately, I don't know, I think that's the big reason. That's the reason why why you do it. That's why I do it. I have to. It's just like I gotta make the thing. I gotta try. And I don't know. I think it's important. And you should do it too. Whoever's listening to this, you should do it. I don't know what your thing is, but you should do it, and you should share it, because I want to see it. I really do. Do you make little movies? I want to see it. I would love to see that. Do you do a podcast? Tell me about it. I don't know. Do you do art? I love art. I love. I've been getting into skateboarding, watching people skateboard recently too. I used to be such a poser, such a fake skateboarder when I was young. It was part of my identity back then. I remember I was on a family vacation in California, and my dad. I feel like I've told this story before, but my dad, we were at like a mall, and we saw these kids skateboarding, and I had all like the skateboard stuff on. I was wearing it, and my dad was like, said something to the effect of, he's like, "Yeah, those kids are skateboarding. They're skaters." I think I was like, "I am too. I'm a skater." And my dad's like, "Can you do what they're doing?" I was like, "No, they're doing like kick flips." I could ollie. That's like the most I ever. I put so much time and effort into the ollie, and I could barely do that. And my dad's just like, "Well, you're not quite like a skater like they're a skater, huh?" And I feel like I am actually grateful to my dad for doing this, because it was kind of a wake up call that I need. I don't even know if he meant to do this or if he would remember this, but it did. It was like stop deluding yourself. Quit fake. Like you're not gonna be a pro skater. I remember in like grade 5, I literally was like, I suck at school, so I got to be a pro skater. Like that has to happen because I suck at school, and I need a backup plan. And pro skateboarding was my backup plan. Yeah, and Harvard was my my plan after. If that didn't work out, I'd go to Harvard, be a famous actor or something. So yeah, I think we ought to put out some more stuff, Lyndon. I know you're not here right now. I didn't even intend to do any of this. Oh, I didn't even finish that line of thought. But I initially intended on starting working on like a new animated thing. It's easy, it's nice, and it's easy, especially in this quarantine times with, it's hard to get people together to film a thing in the best of times. And animated things are nice because you can just do it yourself. And it's painstakingly long, but anyway, so I was going to work on the next thing. A Superman, superhero themed things, I guess. It's a Superman thing, just like a sketch that I had about Superman. So I'll just wait for, I'll just do it and then you can watch it. But if you're curious, but anyway, that's why I got on the mic, just to like sort of test. That was my initial intention, and then the Mission Stories template recorded thing came up, and that's when I was like, I tested it out, and then it was like the music started playing, and then I was like, hey, there's precedent for a solo episode. Plus, I have all the equipment, so, and I pay the damn cost of it, so I'm, might as well, or not, or maybe this will never see the light of day. Either way, guys, I honestly appreciate the true and faithful listeners of this podcast. It's honestly been so strange, like the outreach that we've, like, we're not a big podcast by any means, but just like the feedback that we've gotten is cool, and it's special, and it's like, it kind of makes it worth. It already has been worthwhile doing it. Only for, as Lyndon says, men's friendships are often activity based, and this is part of Lyndon and I's friendship for sure at this point. If we want to talk to each other, it has to be on a microphone, and that's how it is now. But also the people we've heard from and the stories and the experiences. I never thought, it's so funny, like I started this podcast at a time when I had just gone through, I just started my faith crisis. But I also had this urge to do, I was just getting in, like listening to podcasts, and I loved the medium, and I was a big consumer of them. But I was going through this thing where really I was like, man, it's all fake, and I really going through it. And then I turn around and start a Mormon podcast, And to this day, I can't explain. I don't know what that was. It almost feels like a subconscious cry for help, maybe, or keep something to keep myself latched in to the church, to my roots. I don't know if I feel like I've said this before, but I often feel really proud of my Mormon heritage and of like having Mormon ancestors. I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of what the sacrifices that those people did. Even my most recent, like my grandmother on my dad's side, she was a convert. She was a convert to the church, and a stalwart member her whole life. And even that pioneer experience of like, it was not easy for her. It wasn't easy for her. It is never easy to be a Mormon, and there's something about that. And I'm sorry I used the term Mormon. I know it's whatever, but it was. I'm an old dog now, and I have a hard time. I mean, like President Nelson's the oldest dog there is, and he's learning new tricks, and maybe I should too. But I don't even know what to say though. Latter-day Saint. I like Mormon. There's something about Mormon that feels like good. I don't know. Plus, I'm a rebel, I'm a friggin' rebel, dude. Oh, this is self-indulgent. That's okay. I pay for it. I pay for the right to be self-indulgent, okay? I don't know. I'm just like proud of it. I'm proud of being a Mormon. Sometimes. Other times it's rough. I will say this about the faith crisis. I feel good about the place where I am now. The place where I'm at now is something like everything I learned in my faith crisis still stands, right? Like all of the historical things, they still are there. And I don't necessarily ignore them. In fact, I don't. I acknowledge that they're there and that they still, there's a lot of implications that go along with that. But including, my initial conclusions, which were that, oh my goodness, the church is not true. My faith is gone. But that has not stopped God. It's so strange. It has not stopped God from consistently coming into my life at these points and these kind of key points and sort of calling back to me. And if I am completely honest with myself and I look back on my life in the last 2 years when this has all happened. It's so funny because this podcast is linked inextricably with my own personal faith crisis, and it's I don't know, it's weird, but I look back on it now, and if I'm being totally honest, I have to admit that God had, throughout the process was reaching out, calling out to me, and oftentimes I ignored it, and sometimes I didn't, and I don't know, little by little, I've arrived at a place now, and it really snowballs. The moment you sort of turn to God, when when you feel the call and you turn to God, I find it really snowballs. It really exponentially gets, and faith is like that. I don't know. I think it's like a muscle that if you have the memory of it, if you've already done the work before, I think it's easier to get that muscle up to speed when you start working it again. And I feel good now. My belief is I think I've arrived at the thing that I've been looking for this whole time, which is basically that it's the reconciliation of two impossible, two incongruous things that ought not to exist together, and yet I don't know. I feel like I've reconciled with it, or maybe I've reconciled with the fact that there's no like good answer for it, because on the one hand, I still think that all those church history things are true. All of the problems with our history and with the inherent the problems that come along with those facts, they're still true. And yet I also believe in God and in Christ and in a weird way, in Joseph Smith, in the church itself. Because there's two aspects to the church. One aspect is the ethereal, there's even like there's more aspects than that too. So it's like I was going to say that there's like the ethereal, the mystical part of the church, which is takes faith to a leap of faith to get to that place where you're like, okay, the truth claims of the church are true. And I think for a lot of people that's difficult to admit to that and to make that leap on its own. Fair enough. Then you have, so there's like the church-specific claims, and those would be like Book of Mormon, the priesthood, restoration, all of like the church-specific, Mormon church-specific things about, Christianity and everything. And then there's like the Christianity itself, of which is the firm roots of this church, and I will defend that till the day I die. This is a Christian church. Make no mistake about that. So there's the Christianity, and then there's sort of like all the extra stuff, right? And then there's the actual like bricks and mortar and sweat and blood and tears and sacrifice of the actual living, breathing people who believed in God and in Christ and in prophets and in good things to come and in the goodness of man and in, who knew and believed in their hearts and felt feelings that they felt them. They experienced them. People who are staunch atheists, and I don't know what this is, right? People who don't believe, I get it. You didn't grow up with it. You didn't have the experiences, and they're like, these people who are religious, they're so dumb. Why would they think that? Why would they, in the face of all of the obvious evidence, why would they believe? And the simple truth of the matter is they just haven't experienced the thing that the religious person has experienced. They haven't experienced the and I think we all get it. Like, all the religious people, we get it. We know it sounds crazy. We know it's nuts. It's absolutely wild, and it's far-fetched, and it's embarrassing to even, that's why it's like all the churches, everyone's trying to get each other to evangelize other people, because it's like a Christian imperative to share the gospel, but also, we want our churches to grow, whatever. But nobody wants to do it. I know some people do more than others, or they have more of a talent, or they're less embarrassed about it. And maybe it's just a subset of people that of which I am a part, which are, I lean rational, and I lean critical, and I lean cynical. And so, the part of religion that is wild is, it's embarrassing to share with people, or it definitely used to be. I actually feel better about sharing with it now, because I think I can reconcile it. I'm okay with those two things existing simultaneously. That I know that it's crazy and it sounds insane, but I have experienced, it helps me. It actually helps. It actually helps. And that's real. That's as real, it's real enough. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I think I definitely will release this now, because I think this is a thing I would want. If you're struggling with your faith, and you're like me, and you're like, it's it doesn't make any sense. I can't reconcile. It's so crazy sounding, and it is, and it does, and yet it's true enough. The Book of Mormon is true enough, and Joseph Smith, he did a lot of crazy stuff. He did. Don't deny it. I know that you know that he did. But also, he was, he could be a good guy too. And he did a lot of good things too. And the church that stemmed out of, that is the resultant church today, yeah, they got a lot of money saved up. But you know what? In the wake of the COVID crisis, I'm starting to think that if this is just even a taste of the calamities to come, wow, isn't it nice to to belong to an organization with $100 billion locked and loaded, ready to go? Isn't that nice? I mean, it's weird. It's like I'm eating my words at this point. Truly, I get that, and I don't know, man. It just seems to me to be about being in a place, and I feel good. I finally feel like I'm in this place where I'm okay with two things being true. One, that the history of the church sounds like a bunch of baloney. That when you put several pieces of information, facts together, it makes it sound like Joseph is a con man. It just does. And that sucks, especially if you learn about these things kind of after you've built up your house of faith without these things, and you didn't know about them, and it's like they were hidden little bombs in your house of faith. It's like there's these grenades. You wouldn't build a house lined with C4 and all the key structural joints, but it seems to be that's what we have, you know? And it's so crazy because all this stuff came out in like, and I'm talking on my bar right now. I think it was the 70s, 60s, 70s. I don't know if it was much earlier than that, but there were whole generations who just like didn't know about this stuff, you know? And they joined the church and so I don't know, like I get it. I get the viewpoint of like, I don't know where you're getting this information, but it doesn't line up with what I believe, so I'm going to discount it all. I get it. I get that viewpoint. Love it. Great. Do your thing. But for those of us like myself who experienced this struggle, and we built our house and it was filled with C4, and it turns out the tinder box, you know, the fuse, it's weird. The fuse gets lit at different points along the way, and it's almost like the fuse, you run out of fuse almost. You know, it's like the fuse gets lit, and then you're like, no, put it out. But now you got less fuse. And then over time, over the years, it just keeps getting lit and lit and lit. And before too long, the fuse hits the bomb and it all blows up. And you're like, wait, what? Huh? But, yeah. But then you get through it. You stick around. I heard a good analogy once. It was like when you're in a foxhole and you don't know what to do, like stay in the foxhole. You know, if you're getting shot at, don't put your head up. Keep your, stick around. I don't know. Make a podcast. Talk out your feelings in a public forum. Let other people listen to them. Make the mistakes in front of other people. Stick around. Come back. I don't know. If you're listening to this and you left and you're like, I feel like a common sentiment is like, I wish it was true, but it's not, and I can't, and I have to be true to myself, and I get that. I feel ya. But also, life is short. And to me, living without faith is it's like living in the forest. It's like living in the wilderness. It's harsh and it's rational and it's, hey, that's the way it is. It's a forest and it's cold and it's dark and that's the way it is and we have to accept it. It's like accepting that you have to live in a forest for the rest of your life. And to me, faith and religion and a belief in God and in Christ and in forgiveness and in mercy. And I know those things are not all, intrinsically. I know that you can have mercy and forgiveness without religion. I know that. But I know that you can't have you can't have religion without forgiveness and mercy. You're not a good one, not a true one. Not one that's true enough. And I don't know. I would say learn to accept two opposite things at the same time and open yourself up to the possibility of extraordinary things. You know, it's so crazy. It's so crazy that like Alma, I think it's 32, where he's talking about the seed of faith and all of those things. He's like, make room in your heart. If you only have a desire to believe, make the room in your heart to like put the seed. Just make a space, you know? And then plant the seed and it'll grow and all that. I've been talking for an hour, so that's funny. Guys, I love you. I know Lyndon does too. I don't know how he's going to feel about me doing this by myself, but also he hasn't paid his side of the subscription yet. So it's all on me right now. So I think I deserve to do what I want. And yeah, guys, I love you. I wish Lyndon were here to close us out. I don't know how to do this, so I'll just say thanks for being true and faithful, and see you soon. Bye.